Last week, when the snow fell, I delighted in being in the Bitterroot Valley because this image came to my mind of the quintessential Christmas moment, going on a sleigh ride. How many of you have ever been on a sleigh ride before? Awesome! I can't wait to do it. Now is not the time, I don't think. But my imagination captured this great picture, smooth sailing across the open fields of snowy land as I'm bundled beneath blankets. Everything about me is toasty warm except for my red nose. And there's a little squealing girl next to me as Lydia shouts with glee, watching the deer prance across our trail, and we listen to the bells bounce around as the horses trot. And thank goodness for imaginations. Thank goodness for imaginations, because I suspect that sleigh rides are one of the more complex modes of transportation, if you get what I mean, right? There's all of the preparation with the horses and the sleigh, and then you have to have the ground just right and the air quality just at its perfection, and not to mention the cleanup that comes with all of that. Even the classic song Sleigh Ride is complicated and complex, right? This is why symphonies call all hands on deck for their Christmas season concert, 2 to 3 percussionists to boot. It's not just bells and whistles, it's a ride. I'm sure you don't have to go far to imagine complexity in your own life. You can think back on your week or even look ahead to the preparations that you have in the next few days to see how the hope of simplicity and the existence of complexity ride, if not just tumble together in this season. From the pre-Halloween setup in stores to the last-minute preparations, it's no wonder that we feel like we're in a wild rush sometimes, while relishing moments by the fireside or in the Christmas light-lit day. The place where you hold hot chocolate and just look at one another or enjoy a meal long and sustaining with your friends and your family. Simplicity and complexity are the paradox of life that become so prominent and sometimes at complete odds during this season. And I believe this paradox existed from the very beginning with Mary, the angels, and Joseph. Simplicity is not a denial of complications, wrote Michael Williams in our Advent book. So what is this simplicity, and how does complexity orient us to a heartbeat, a rhythm that sets forth our human life? Joseph's story, the nurturing earthly father's story, gives us a glimpse into this paradox that bears our great care and gratitude. Will you pray with me? God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts bring you delight this day. And may we be here for just a moment, that we might intuit those words, that we might experience your Spirit in a transformational way. Help us be here in this simple and complex season. Amen. Matthew's gospel lesson records the only story of Jesus' human father in the first moments of this new relationship, responsibility, and identity. And talk about complications. Here comes Mary. Hey, Joseph, so guess what? And all he can think, well, I'm sure there's lots of things that he thought, but the two that come to my mind are, I didn't do it, and this could be a big mess. But the complications turn into complexities when you reflect on this situation beyond the physical details that are taking place. Here we have two humans who are set to spend the rest of their lives together due to arranged marriage and or mutual affection. They're not pawns in the game of life, but sensual beings, and now they enter in, or more appropriately, are propelled in to a life completely out of the normal. from their time, their place, their culture, and maybe even their personal comfort level. Joseph must have been considering plenty of things. If I'm engaged to a pregnant woman, will I be shamed? Will she? And if it's not my baby, whose is it? Is it my role and duty as a man to stay with her? Or to bring honor to my family name? Mary will be left without a husband, a father to her child, or a hope for the future. But is that my fault or my problem? Now, lest we consider there's an obvious answer, remember we have hindsight. Imagine for a minute your own reaction to news like this if you were to wake up tomorrow. And for a moment, allow age to dissipate from this imagination. We're not trying to recall the miracle story of Abraham and Sarah, okay? Imagine. Think of the principles and the ethics, the family pressures and social pressures that you would feel, that you have felt at various seasons of your life. As a new student in college, or perhaps starting that first job out of high school. Maybe you're newly married, or that moment when you are deciding you don't want to be married. Maybe there's a moment where you're questioning whether or not to have kids, or recognizing that you don't have a choice if you want children. There's the season of career decisions and moving, and all sorts of complications. I mean, growing your hair out might have been a big, bold move at some point in your life, right? And now, do you have the choice to grow your hair out? I mean, all of these things come to play. And so we realize that it's fair to say Joseph was both startled by this news and was going into waters completely uncharted. So it was not a simple response. I'm grateful that the essence of simplicity is not found easily in words or actions. Joseph did not get angry, nor did he become abusive or slandering or jealous, even though he could have. And that might have been a simple and justified response. Simplicity does not condone the easy scapegoating patterns of our world when complexity interrupts our plans and disrupts our sensibilities. Simplicity actually calls us to something more, not more intricate, but more thoughtful, intentional, and brave. Quaker educator Thomas Kelly defined simplicity as living from a divine center. We make choices among the many demands of life, but with a heartbeat punctuating our daily rhythms. And we move from this deeper source of wisdom, this divine center, into complexity. Joseph made the choice in the midst of demands and complexities. The Gospel of Matthew makes it sound easy. He woke up and did what the angel said, and all before lunch. Right? I think the divine center allows us to do what is best, with peace and assurance despite the circumstances. Yes, Joseph followed the angel's promptings, but that entailed 9 months of preparations for a child to come, not to mention the unimagined life as a father of such a baby as Jesus. The divine center within us then empowers us to respond as needed to other things. It's as if those complexities, those demands or naysayers, critics or problems dissipate or vanish, or at least lose intensity. With this heartbeat moving us from the divine center, we become aware of where we spend our energy, including on our thoughts and our worries. Joseph likely felt that it was not worth the energy to dispute or question God's message, because in reality, he saw it as a real calling, a focus, a care that was right before him. I must ready my heart and my family for this child, I can imagine Joseph thinking. Simplicity becomes the driving heartbeat that sets the rhythm of a human life. simplicity becomes the driving heartbeat that sets the rhythm of a human life. Joseph heard the news. He had some initial thoughts, and perhaps he had even made up his mind, but the scripture said he lay awake considering this. Before following through on any of his ideas, he slept on it. There you go. Sound advice from the Bible. Have a hard decision to make? Sleep on it. And it seems that this answer is just too simple. It's just not even worth noting. But it's here. It's here in this moment of sleep that God's messenger, the angel, spoke to him. The sleep, the dreams, all of the rhythms and all of the renewal of his body, mind, and soul were used to inform him. Now there's a rhythm in our culture too. It says to us, as it did to Joseph, these are the ways of things. Follow this direction. Lean into them. Somehow, in this dreamlike state, Joseph could be aware of that cultural rhythm, and yet sensitive to the compelling rhythm of God. He followed what the angel said and gave the rhythm of human life a steady heartbeat of care and consistency to his wife and unborn child. Joseph moved from the divine center within by settling into the best rhythm he could offer, the daily movements, choices, and intentions done well. He allowed that heartbeat to inform him as a husband and a father, a carpenter, and a community man. Joseph became a dad, not a bodyguard, not an architect of a grand temple or mausoleum for his glowing firstborn. He didn't find a way to ensure that Jesus was the starting pitcher on the Little League team, or accepted to Harvard regardless of merit. He was a dad. He was a dad in the rhythms of life that brought life. Joseph looked after his son, Mary, and other children with care and protection. And so in doing the little things of life, even the ones that don't come with fireworks, he actually helped those little things, those little moments, become momentous. A couple summers ago, Lydia and I were at home, and she was napping while I had a great idea of a festival that was happening in downtown Boulder. I had just heard of it, and so I started thinking, okay, what do I do? I gotta get a stroller and a snack and a hat and sunscreen, and well, the list goes on when you're with the 2-year-old. And so I'm preparing all of this so that we can go to this street festival, a brand new event. She wakes up a little groggy, and that doesn't ring any bells for her. She's not really interested, and she kept saying, let's go to the park. No, Lydia, you'll really enjoy this. It will be a great, exciting moment. It will be worth going. Let's do it. Let's get your shoes on. No, I want to go to the park. Well, her enthusiasm, or lack thereof, kind of quelled my own. And I started thinking of all of the details that would happen. There would be the travel time, and then there would be the heat, and then what if snack didn't work out, and then there's all these people, and she's shy, and what if we get lost, and then there's parking, and all of a sudden the park sounded really good. So we went off to the park, and I don't know what it was about that time. I think maybe she slid down the slide all by herself for the first time, or she found new confidence while she climbed the ladder. Or maybe nothing. Maybe it was just the park. The park that we did 3 times a day, every day in the summer. The park that we attended hundreds of times, that we just had our very own names for it. The park that became the rhythm of our life. And I remember that moment so well, where I moved from big events with fireworks to the simple, and recognizing that that was the way I want to create memories. That is the way that I want to live into life. That is the way that I want to create rhythms that are lasting and that are foundational. This is the kind of rhythm that nurtured and informed Jesus as well. No doubt, Jesus could have preached sermons like Broadway hits, 8 shows a week, and miracles during lunch hour and walking on water as morning exercise. But he didn't. A different rhythm guided him, via his Father on earth as much as his Father in heaven. Jesus' work is made up of, humanly speaking, very humble and unpretending incidents. His teachings are in retired places about illustrations of ordinary affairs, as Horace Bushnell reports. It's possible that he might have even taken the idea of a sleigh ride as an ordinary topic to capture a lesson in both its simplicity and complexity. We have such an opportunity now to find and align ourselves to the simplicity in the midst of complexity, to this heartbeat that is the rhythm of human life that Joseph and Jesus modeled. So I'm going to invite you to go among the trees with me in a Wendell Berry poem. And we'll use this as a time of reflection, a time of meditation. So I'll guide you with just some simple hand gestures so that as you find yourself in the trees, you might find yourself in a new rhythm, in the rhythm at the heart of the moment. So find yourself a comfortable place in your seat, and I'll invite you to have your hands on your laps, however you may rest. I go among the trees and sit still. Wendell Berry. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet. Around me, like the circles of water, my tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Now turn your palms up. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Now clench your fists. Then what I am afraid of comes. I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. Relax your hands and let them rest. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. What complexities and complications stir within you? Perhaps they evoke fear as they come to you. What does the divine center bring forth in you in this moment? What rhythm will you follow? I invite you to take these questions home with you. True gratitude is born of simplicity. And as we come to know God and God's Spirit within us, I pray that we can express them simply and offer them back to and through complexity.